The night sky in Chile's desert looked the same as always. Dr. Alex Rodriguez sat in his chair, staring at computer screens filled with numbers and lines. He had been working at this remote space research station for 3 years now, listening for signals from other worlds. Most nights were quiet to quiet. Alex rubbed his tired eyes and checked the time, 2 in the morning. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he kept drinking it anyway. The desert around him was silent except for the gentle hum of his equipment. Stars filled the sky like scattered diamonds, and Alex often wondered if anyone out there was looking. Back at Earth, that's when everything changed. His computers started making sounds he had never heard before. Beeping turned into buzzing. The screens flickered with strange patterns that made no sense. Alex sat up straight, his heart beating faster. In 3 years of work, nothing like this had ever happened. "What the heck is going on?" he whispered to himself. The signals were unlike anything in his databases. They weren't random noise from space or signals from satellites. These patterns had structure, like someone was trying to communicate. Alex's hands shook as he tried to record everything. His equipment was going crazy, showing readings that should have been impossible. Then the lights appeared through his window. Alex saw 3 bright lights moving across the desert sky. They weren't planes or helicopters. They moved too smoothly, too quietly. The lights seemed to dance together before slowly coming down toward the ground about a mile away. From his station, Alex grabbed his binoculars with trembling hands. The lights had landed behind a small hill, but he could see a soft glow coming from that direction. His mind raced with possibilities. Weather balloon, military test, but deep down, he knew this was something else entirely. Should he call someone? His supervisor? The police? But who would believe him? And what if he was wrong? Alex made a decision that would change his life forever. He grabbed a flashlight, put on his jacket, and stepped outside into the cold desert night. The walk to the landing site felt like it took forever. Each step made his heart pound harder. Part of him wanted to turn back, but curiosity pushed him forward. As he got closer to the hill, the glow became brighter. It wasn't harsh like electric lights, but soft and warm like moonlight. Alex climbed the small hill carefully, trying not to make noise. When he reached the top and looked down, his jaw dropped. In the valley below sat something that couldn't exist. It looked like a ship, but not any ship he had ever seen. The surface seemed to shimmer like water, changing colors from silver to blue to purple. It was about the size of a small airplane, but shaped like a teardrop. No engines, no wings, nothing. That made sense. Alex crouched behind some rocks, hardly daring to breathe. Then he saw movement. A door that he hadn't even noticed opened silently. Light spilled out, and a figure stepped onto the desert sand. Alex blinked hard, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him. The figure looked human, but somehow different. Taller than most people, with skin that seemed to glow softly in the darkness. The being wore clothes that looked like they were made of light itself, flowing and changing colors. Long hair moved in a breeze that Alex couldn't feel. Most surprising of all, the being looked female and incredibly beautiful, but in a way that seemed almost too perfect to be real. She walked away from her ship and seemed to be studying the landscape around her. That's when Alex noticed something was wrong. She moved stiffly, like she was hurt or tired. Her ship made a few soft beeping sounds, and she turned back toward it with what looked like concern. Alex watched as she tried to do something with a device in her hands. The device flashed red, and she shook her head. Her ship's lights dimmed, then brightened, then dimmed again, even from his hiding spot. Alex could tell something was broken. This was his moment. Alex knew he should probably run back to the station and call for help, call the military, call scientists, call someone important. But this being seemed lost and alone, just like he often felt in this empty desert, and she appeared to need help. Taking a deep breath, Alex stood up and walked down the hill toward her. She heard his footsteps and turned quickly. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Her eyes were unlike anything Alex had ever seen, changing colors like her ship. They showed surprise, then caution, then something that might have been relief. "Hello," Alex said softly, feeling foolish. What do you say to someone from another world? To his amazement, she responded. Her voice was musical, speaking in sounds that flowed like water. She held up the device in her hands, and suddenly words appeared in the air between them, glowing. Softly, greetings, Earth Dweller. I'm Zara of the Stellar Council. My vessel has experienced technical difficulties. Alex stared at the floating words, then at Zara. This was really happening. Real first contact with an alien being, and it was happening to him. A lonely researcher in the middle of nowhere? I'm Alex, he managed to say. Are you hurt? Do you? Need help? More glowing words appeared. I'm unharmed but stranded. My ship's navigation system has failed. I was not expecting to encounter one of your kind. Something in the way she stood told Alex she was scared, even though she was trying to hide it. Here was someone from the stars, probably with technology beyond his understanding, and she needed his help. You can stay at my research station, Alex offered. It's not much, but it's warm and safe. Maybe we can figure out how to fix your ship. Zara looked at him for a long moment. The floating words appeared again. You would help me. Even though I am not of your world, everyone needs help sometimes, Alex said simply. For the first time, Zara smiled. It was a small smile, but it lit up her entire face. She nodded and gestured toward her ship. The door opened again, and she retrieved a small bag before following Alex back toward his station. As they walked through the desert together, Alex couldn't believe what was happening. Yesterday, he was just a lonely scientist listening to empty space. Tonight, he was walking with someone from another world. The stars above seemed brighter now, full of possibilities he had never imagined. Neither of them knew that this simple act of kindness would lead to the most incredible love story in the history of two worlds. 3 weeks had passed since that incredible night in the desert. Alex still couldn't believe any of it was real. Every morning when he woke up, he expected to find out it had all been a dream. But then he would look out his window and see the small shelter he had built near his research station, and he knew Zara was really there. She had been staying in the makeshift guest room Alex created using spare equipment and blankets. Her ship remained hidden behind the hill, covered with a special cloth that made it invisible to passing aircraft. Zara had explained that her people had strict rules about contact with other worlds, and she wasn't supposed to reveal herself to anyone. But here you are, Alex had said on their second day together. Here I am, she had replied through her translator device. And something in her voice made Alex think she wasn't entirely unhappy about breaking those rules. Their daily routine had become something Alex looked forward to more than anything else. In his life, each morning, he would make coffee and she would prepare something that looked like tea but tasted like sunshine and flowers. They would sit together and watch the sunrise paint the desert in shades of gold and pink. Zara had been teaching him about her world, and the stories she told were beyond anything Alex had ever imagined. Her home planet was called Lumina, and it sounded like paradise. She showed him images through her device, floating cities made of crystal that caught and reflected light in rainbow patterns, gardens that grew in the air with plants that sang gentle melodies when the wind touched them. The trees on Lumina glow at night. Zara explained one evening as they sat outside under the stars. Families gather beneath them to share stories and food. Children learn to fly using wingsuits made from flower petals. Alex tried to picture it, but found his imagination wasn't big enough. It sounds amazing. You must miss it. Zara was quiet for a moment. I do miss it, but I have learned something here that I never expected. What's that? Loneliness, she said. Softly. On Lumina, I'm always surrounded by my people. We share thoughts and feelings easily. But here, with you, I have discovered what it means to truly connect with just one person. It is different, special. Alex felt his heart skip a beat. Over the past weeks, he had been falling for Zara in ways he didn't think were possible. She was brilliant, kind, and curious about everything. She asked him endless questions about Earth, about humans, about his life. No one had ever shown such genuine interest in who he was in return. Alex shared everything with her. He told her about growing up in a small town, about his love for the stars, about how lonely he had felt before she arrived. He showed her his favorite music, and she listened with wonder as tears formed in her color-changing eyes. Your people express emotions through sound, she had said after hearing a particularly sad song. On Lumina, we express feelings through light and color, but music touches something deeper. Their conversations weren't always easy. Zara's translators sometimes struggled with human emotions and slang. Alex learned to speak slowly and clearly, while Zara practiced human facial expressions. She found smiling difficult at first because her people communicated happiness differently. "Show me again," Alex would say, and Zara would attempt a smile that started awkward but gradually became natural. In Warm Dot one afternoon, Zara took Alex to her ship. He had been curious about it since that first night, but hadn't wanted to be rude by asking. The inside was unlike anything he could have imagined. The walls seemed alive, shifting with soft light patterns. Everything curved and flowed like it had grown rather than been built. "This is my study area," Zara said, showing him a space where star maps floated in the air like three-dimensional puzzles. "And here's where I prepare my reports for the council." Alex watched her navigate through displays that showed information about dozens of worlds. "You're an explorer. I'm what you might call a cultural researcher. I study other civilizations to determine if they are ready for contact with the greater galactic community." Something cold settled in Alex's stomach. "And what have you determined?" "About Earth," Zara hesitated. "That is complicated." She showed him her preliminary reports. According to her findings, humans were too aggressive, too divided, too unpredictable for safe contact. The Stellar Council would likely classify Earth as not ready and place it under observation for another 100 years, but that's not fair. Alex protested. "Yes, humans have problems, but we're also capable of incredible kindness and love. Look at us. We're from completely different worlds, and we've become friends, more than friends." Zara said quietly, and Alex felt his cheeks burned. She was right. Somewhere between sharing sunrise coffee and stargazing conversations, their friendship had deepened into something neither of them had expected. Alex found himself thinking about Zara constantly, the way she laughed at his silly jokes, how she listened so intently when he spoke, the careful way she had learned to hug him when he felt sad. "Zara," Alex said carefully, "what happens when your ship is fixed?" She looked away. "I must return to Lumina and deliver my report. The Council will decide Earth's fate based on my recommendations." "And what will you recommend?" I did not know anymore. When I arrived, I was certain about my mission. But you have shown me aspects of humanity that do not appear in any textbook. Compassion for strangers, curiosity without conquest, the ability to find joy in simple moments." They stood in silence, surrounded by the gentle glow of her ships. Living walls. Alex wanted to tell her how he felt, but the words seemed too big, too frightening. What was the point of falling in love with someone from another world? "Alex," Zara said softly. "May I show you something from my world?" She pressed her hand against a wall panel, and suddenly the air around them shimmered. Alex gasped as he found himself standing in what looked like a forest made of light. Trees stretched impossibly high, their leaves glowing like tiny stars. In the distance, he could see one of Lumina's crystal cities floating gracefully above. "Purple mountains. This is my favorite place on Lumina," Zara said. "I come here when I need to think or feel peaceful." Alex turned slowly, taking in the beautiful holographic landscape. "It's incredible. Thank you for sharing it with me." "There is something else," Zara said, and her voice carried a nervousness he had never heard before. "On Lumina, when someone is very important to you, you share your light with them." She held out her hand, and Alex saw that her palm was glowing with soft, warm light. "It is how we show deep affection, but I have never shared my light with someone from another world. I do not know if it will work." Alex took her glowing hand without hesitation. The moment their skin touched, warmth spread through his entire body. For just a few seconds, he could sense what Zara was feeling, her wonder at their connection, her sadness about having to leave, and underneath it all, a growing love that matched his own. When the sensation faded, they were still holding hands. In the holographic forest, both of them were breathing hard, amazed by what had just happened. That was Alex started. Impossible, Zara finished. Humans are not supposed to be able to share light. But with you, everything seems to work differently. They stood there in the glowing forest, holding hands and looking into each other's eyes. Alex knew without doubt that he was falling in love with this incredible being from the stars. And from the way Zara was looking at him, he was beginning to hope she might feel the same way. But in the back of his mind, one thought kept repeating: she would have to leave soon, and he might never see her again. The warning signal came on a Tuesday morning, piercing through the peaceful quiet that Alex and Zara had grown to love. Alex was making his usual coffee when he heard Zara gasp from inside her ship. He dropped his mug and ran to find her staring at a large display that was flashing urgent red symbols. "What's happening?" Alex asked, though the expression on Zara's face already told him it wasn't good news. "The council," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "They are ordering my immediate return to Lumina." Alex felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. They both knew this day would come, but somehow he had pushed the thought away, hoping they would have more time. The message was clear and harsh. Zara's mission time had exceeded acceptable limits. Her repair work on the ship should have been completed weeks ago. The Stellar Council demanded she return immediately with her assessment of Earth, and any delay would result in serious consequences. "How long do I have?" Zara asked her ship's computer. "Based on current stellar alignments and council protocols, departure must occur within 72 hours, came the mechanical reply. 3 days. Alex felt the world spinning around him. 3 days to say goodbye to the most important person who had ever entered his life. "Maybe you could ask for more time," Alex suggested desperately. "Tell them the ship needs more repairs." Zara shook her head sadly. "I have already used that excuse multiple times. The council is suspicious. If I delay further, they will send ships to investigate. That would mean exposing Earth to force contact before your people are ready." They spent that first day in a strange state of shock. Neither wanted to talk about the obvious solution, that Zara would leave, and they would probably never see each other again. Instead, they tried to act normal, sharing meals and conversations as if nothing had changed. But there was a sadness hanging over everything they did. On the second day, Zara began preparing her ship for departure. Alex helped her pack equipment and organize her research files. Every task felt like pulling a knife deeper into his heart. He watched her preparing to erase all traces of her time on Earth, and it felt like she was erasing him too. "What will you tell the council about humans?" Alex asked as they worked. Zara paused in her packing. "I will tell them the truth, that humans are complex, capable of both great kindness and great mistakes, that you are not ready for full galactic contact, but that you have potential, and that will protect Earth. It will keep your world safe for now. The council will continue monitoring from a distance, but they will not interfere with human development." Alex nodded, trying to feel grateful, but all he could think about was how empty his life would feel without her. That evening, they took one last walk through the desert together. The stars seemed brighter than usual, as if they knew this might be Alex and Zara's final night under them. They found a spot on a small hill where they could see both Alex's research station and the area where Zara's ship waited. "I want you to know," Zara said softly, "that these weeks with you have been the most meaningful of my life. On Lumina, I was just another researcher doing her duty. Here, with you, I discovered who I could be when someone truly saw me." Alex took her hand, feeling the familiar warm tingle of their connection. "You changed my life too. Before you came, I was just sitting alone in that station, listening to empty space. You showed me that the universe is full of wonder and possibility." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just enjoying being together. Alex tried to memorize everything about this moment. The way the starlight caught in Zara's hair, the sound of her gentle breathing, the feeling of her hand in his. "I wish things could be different," Alex said finally. "Different how?" Alex took a deep breath. He had been thinking about this for days. but hadn't found the courage to say it out loud. I wish we didn't have to say goodbye. I wish you could stay, or I could come with you. I wish, he paused, his heart hammering. I wish I could marry you. The words came out as barely a whisper, so quiet that Alex thought maybe Zara hadn't heard them. He was looking down at the ground, too scared to see her reaction. But Zara had heard every word. Her enhanced hearing had caught even his softest whisper, and she turned to look at him with eyes wide with surprise and something that might have been joy. Yes, she said simply. Alex's head snapped up. What? Yes, Zara repeated. And now she was smiling through tears that glowed softly in the darkness. If it were possible, if the laws of both our worlds allowed it, if we could find a way, yes, I would marry you. They stared at each other in amazement. Alex felt like he might float away from pure happiness, even though they both knew how impossible the situation was. But how? Alex asked. Your people would never accept a human. And my people don't even know aliens exist. I do not know, Zara admitted. But Alex, the fact that you asked, that you would want to spend your life with someone from another world, it changes everything I thought I knew about humans. She stood up suddenly, pacing with excitement. What if there was a way? What if we could find a solution that would work for both our peoples? Alex stood too, caught up in her energy despite the impossibility of what they were discussing. What are you thinking? My report to the council. What if I recommended a different approach? What if I suggested that humans might be ready for limited contact, starting with cultural exchange programs? Would they listen? If I could prove that humans and Luminians could work together successfully. Zara looked at Alex with growing excitement. What if I could present this as evidence? A successful partnership between our species? Alex felt a spark of hope, but also fear. That would mean revealing everything. Your presence here, our relationship. Wouldn't that get you in serious trouble? Probably, Zara said honestly. It would be the biggest risk I have ever taken. But Alex, these weeks with you have taught me that some things are worth any risk. They talked through the night, exploring possibilities that seemed impossible but somehow felt right. Maybe Zara could request permission to stay longer for extended research. Maybe Alex could find a way to join her on her ship. Maybe they could convince both their peoples that love was the strongest bridge between worlds. As the sun began to rise on what might be their last day together, Alex and Zara sat, holding hands and watching the dessert come to life. They still didn't have all the answers, but they had something more important. They had hope, and they had each other. Whatever happens, Alex said, I want you to know that loving you has been the greatest adventure of my life. And you, Zara, replied, have shown me that the most incredible discoveries happen not when we look to the stars, but when we open our hearts to someone unexpected. The ship would be ready to depart tomorrow, but now they had a plan that might change everything. It was dangerous, unprecedented, and probably crazy. But as Alex had learned from Zara, sometimes the impossible was just another word for something that hadn't been tried yet. The next 3 months felt like living in a beautiful dream that could shatter at any moment. Zara had sent a carefully worded message to the Stellar Council, requesting extended time for critical cultural research that could change our understanding of human potential. To Alex's amazement, they had granted her additional time, though with strict conditions and constant check-ins. They are suspicious, Zara explained one morning as she finished her daily report to Lumina. But they are also curious about my findings. I have been sending them information about human art, music, and literature, things that show the depth of your emotional capacity. Alex watched her work, still hardly believing she was real. Every day brought new challenges, but also new joys. They had developed their own secret world within the walls of his research station, creating a space where two different species could learn to live together. The practical problems had been enormous at first. Zara's body needed certain atmospheric supplements that weren't available on Earth. Alex had spent weeks learning to operate her biosynthesis equipment, creating the special air mixture she needed to stay healthy. It was like learning alien chemistry, but love made him determined to master it. You are becoming quite skilled at Luminian biotechnology, Zara had told him proudly when he successfully created her first week's supply of supplements. "I have a good teacher," Alex replied, though they both knew he was learning through pure determination rather than natural talent. Their daily routines had become something precious to both of them. Each morning, Alex would prepare his coffee, while Zara made her flower sunshine tea. They would sit together and plan their day, sharing everything from work schedules to silly observations about their differences. Zara was fascinated by human food and had been experimenting with Earth ingredients. Her attempts at cooking had led to some interesting disasters, but also to some surprisingly delicious combinations. On Lumina, we absorb nutrients from light and water, she explained while trying to figure out how to crack an egg. Solid food. Preparation is challenging. Alex laughed and showed her the technique for the 100th time. It's all about practice and not being afraid of making a mess in return. Zara taught Alex meditation techniques that temporarily enhanced his senses. During these sessions, he could hear sounds from miles away and see colors that normally didn't exist for human eyes. It was like getting a glimpse into how Zara experienced the world. "Your mind is more flexible than most humans," Zara told him during one of their practice sessions. "You adapt to new perspectives quickly. This is why our connection works so well." But the most meaningful part of their time together was learning each other's languages and customs. Alex was slowly picking up basic Luminian, though the musical tones were difficult for his human voice to reproduce. Zara's English was becoming more natural every day. With less dependence on her translator device, they created their own private ceremonies combining traditions from both worlds. When Alex had a difficult day, Zara would perform a Luminian comfort ritual, surrounding him with soft light patterns that somehow made everything feel better. When Zara missed her home, Alex would play music that reminded her of the singing. "Plants on Lumina, you know," Alex said one evening as they watched the sunset paint the desert in brilliant colors. "I never thought I would be learning alien wedding customs." Zara smiled, the expression now natural and warm on her face. "And I never imagined I would be interested in human bonding rituals. But here we are." They had been talking more seriously about marriage as the weeks passed, not just the romantic dream of it, but the practical reality. How would it work? Where would they live? What would happen to their families and careers? "My parents think I have been unusually busy with research," Alex confessed. "They keep asking when I will visit home again, and my family believes I am conducting the most thorough cultural study in stellar council history," Zara replied. They are proud but puzzled by how long it is taking. The hardest part was knowing that their relationship might force them both into exile. If they went public, Alex would probably never be able to return to normal human society. He would be studied, questioned, and possibly never trusted again. And Zara might be stripped of her research position and forbidden from ever leaving Lumina. "Are you afraid?" Zara asked him one night as they lay side by side on a blanket under the stars. "Terrified," Alex admitted, "but not of losing my old life. I am afraid of losing you. And I am afraid of losing this," Zara said, gesturing to the space between them, this feeling of being completely understood by someone. On Lumina, relationships are arranged by the council based on genetic compatibility and social status. "I never knew love could feel like coming home to yourself." They had started making plans for a future that seemed impossible but felt necessary. Alex was learning to pilot Zara's ship for short distances, though he was terrible at it. Zara was studying human legal systems, trying to understand how marriage worked on Earth. "Did you know that on your world, people promise to love each other until death do us part?" she asked, while reading about wedding ceremonies. "That is the traditional vow, yes. Luminians bond for entire lifespans, which can be much longer than human lives, but we do not speak of death in our ceremonies. We focus on growing together toward the light." What would our vows be? Alex wondered aloud. Zara was quiet for a moment, thinking, maybe we could promise to love each other across any distance, whether measured in miles or light years. The most challenging aspect of their relationship was maintaining secrecy while building something real. They had to hide their love from both their worlds, while somehow making it strong enough to survive whatever challenges lay ahead. Alex had started documenting everything: their conversations, their cultural exchanges, their problem-solving successes. If they were going to present their relationship as evidence that humans and Luminians could work together, they would need proof. "Look at this," Alex said one evening, showing Zara his notes. 3 months ago, we could barely communicate. Now we have created our own hybrid language, solved complex technical problems together, and established sustainable living arrangements. If that is not proof of successful interspecies cooperation, I do not know what is. Zara studied his documentation with growing excitement. "Alex, this is more than cooperation. This is genuine partnership. We have each adapted to the other's needs without losing our individual identities. Plus," Alex added with a grin, "I can now make that flower tea almost as well as you can." "And I have mastered the art of scrambled eggs," Zara replied proudly. They both laughed, but underneath the humor was a serious realization. They had not just fallen in love, they had created something new. A successful model for how two very different beings could build a life together. "Maybe," Zara said thoughtfully, "we are not asking our peoples to accept something impossible. Maybe we are offering them a gift, proof that love really can bridge any gap." As they held each other under the vast desert sky, Alex felt something he had never experienced before. Not just love, but certainty. Whatever happened next, whatever challenges they faced from their families and governments and councils, they had built something real and strong and beautiful. Tomorrow would bring new difficulties, new decisions to make about their future. But tonight, they were simply Alex and Zara, two beings from different worlds who had found home in each other. The morning of their wedding arrived with the most spectacular sunrise Alex had ever seen. The desert sky painted itself in shades of gold, pink, and purple that seemed almost Luminian in their beauty. As he watched the sun climb over the mountains, Alex couldn't help but think it was a good sign from the universe. They had chosen to marry at dawn for a reason. On Lumina, important ceremonies happened when two light sources met, their sun and their 3 moons. On Earth, Alex explained, dawn represented new beginnings. It seemed perfect that their wedding would happen when Earth's sun was rising, symbolizing the start of their impossible but beautiful life together. The ceremony location was simple but meaningful. They stood in the same spot where Alex had first seen Zara's ship land 6 months ago, the place where their two worlds had first touched. Zara had used her ship's technology to create a small circle of soft, glowing light around them, her way of bringing a piece of Lumina to their Earth wedding. Alex wore his best suit, the one he had brought to Chile for important conferences but had never actually used. Zara wore something that took his breath away, a dress that seemed to be woven from starlight itself, shifting between silver and blue as she moved. She had created it using Luminian technology, and it was the most beautiful thing Alex had ever seen. "Are you ready for this?" Zara asked, taking his hands in hers. Her voice carried just a hint of nervousness that made Alex love her even more. "I have been ready since the night I whispered that I wanted to marry you," Alex replied honestly. They had written their vows together, combining human traditions with Luminian customs. There was no official to perform the ceremony, no priest or judge who would understand what they were doing. Instead, they had decided to marry themselves, speaking promises that came straight from their hearts. Alex went first, his voice strong despite the emotion, threatening to overwhelm him. "Zara, 6 months ago, I was alone in this desert, listening to empty space and wondering if anyone out there would ever hear me. You didn't just answer my call, you came into my life and showed me that love is the most powerful force in any universe. I promise to love you across any distance, whether measured in miles or light years. I promise to learn your customs and share mine. I promise to build a bridge between our worlds, starting with the bridge between our hearts." Zara's vows came in a voice that sang like music, even when speaking English. "Alex, on Lumina, we believe that every being has a light inside them. When I met you, I discovered that your light could reach across space and touch mine. You showed Me that love is not about being the same, but about choosing to grow together. I promise to love you with all the light in my being. I promise to make your world my home and share my world with you. I promise that wherever we go, Earth, Lumina, or the stars between, we will go together. The exchange of rings was a blend of both their traditions. Alex placed a simple gold band on Zara's finger, made from a meteorite he had found in the desert, representing how something from space had brought them together. Zara bound their wrists with fiber optic thread from her ship that glowed with soft, warm light. It was a Luminian custom that symbolized two lives becoming permanently connected. By the laws of love that exist in every world and every star, Alex said, I claim you as my wife. By the light that connects all living things, Zara replied, I claim you as my husband. When they kissed, the fiber optic thread round their wrists pulsed brighter, as if responding to their emotions. Alex felt that familiar warm tingle spread through his body, the sensation of sharing light with Zara. But this time, it was stronger, more permanent. They were truly bonded now, in ways that neither human nor Luminian science could fully explain. The celebration that followed was small but perfect. They shared a breakfast that combined foods from both their worlds, human pancakes with syrup that tasted like Luminian flower nectar. They played music that blended Earth instruments with Luminian light songs. They danced to rhythms that would have sounded impossible on either world, but felt natural to them. So what happens now? Alex asked as they sat together afterward, still wearing their wedding clothes and watching the dessert come alive with morning activity. Now we tell our families, Zara said, and they both laughed nervously. The revelation to both their worlds had to be done carefully. They started with Alex's supervisor at the research station, showing him months of documented evidence about Zara's presence and their successful cooperation. The man's shock quickly turned to fascination as he realized what this meant for humanity's future. Zara's report to the Stellar Council was more complex. She presented their relationship not as a violation of protocol, but as the most successful interspecies partnership in galactic history. She showed them recordings of their conversations, evidence of their problem-solving abilities, and proof that love could indeed bridge any gap between worlds. The response from both sides was mixed. Some humans were frightened by the idea of alien contact. Some Luminians were scandalized by Zara's unauthorized marriage. But there were also those who saw the beauty and possibility in what Alex and Zara had created. Change is never easy, Zara's mother had said during their first video call. But love is the one force that makes change worthwhile. Alex's parents took longer to accept the situation, but his father's eventual words meant everything. Son, if she makes you happy and you make her happy, then she is family. The most surprising response came from the Stellar Council itself. After months of deliberation, they offered Alex and Zara an unprecedented opportunity to become the first official ambassadors of interspecies relations. They would split their time between Earth and space, helping both worlds prepare for the eventual formal contact that was now inevitable. They want us to be proof that different species can work together, Zara explained excitedly. We would travel between worlds, teaching and learning, showing others what we have discovered. Alex could hardly believe it. Not only would they be together, but their love would become the foundation for something larger, a bridge between Earth and the galactic community. Their new life was everything they had dreamed and more. 6 months of the year, they lived on Earth, where Alex continued his research while also serving as humanity's first alien cultural consultant. The other 6 months, they traveled through space on Zara's ship, visiting other worlds and learning about civilizations Alex had only imagined. The ship had been modified to accommodate both their needs. Alex had his own workspace where he could continue studying Earth's signals and comparing them to communications from other worlds. Zara had expanded her cultural research to include interspecies relationships, with Alex as both her partner and her primary subject. Look at this, Zara said one evening as they orbited a planet with 3 purple suns. We have received over 200 applications from other species asking for relationship guidance. Apparently, we have started a trend. Alex laughed. still amazed by how their simple love story had become something that inspired beings across the galaxy. Who would have thought that two lonely researchers could change intergalactic policy? Love always changes things, Zara replied, settling into his arms as they watched the alien sunset. That is what makes it so powerful. On quiet nights like this, as they traveled between stars, Alex often thought about that first night in the Chilean desert. He had been so lonely, listening to empty space and hoping someone might be listening back. He never could have imagined that his answer would come in the form of a beautiful alien princess who would become his wife and partner in reshaping two worlds. Their love story continued to unfold with each planet they visited, each challenge they overcame together, each moment they proved that connection truly was universal. What had begun with a whispered wish under desert stars had become a testament to love's power to transcend any boundary, even those between worlds. And somewhere in the space between Earth and Lumina, Alex and Zara continued their greatest adventure, building a life together among the stars, proving every day that love really was the most powerful force in any universe.